Welcome to another exciting episode of the Insurance Untangled Podcast. My name is Ben Tuine, and I'm one of the co-hosts for this podcast. And as you know, we've created this podcast and sort of dedicated it to fighting all things insurance problems in the dental practice. and Over the years, we've sort of done solo, Naren and I, just one-on-one interviews, and we're going to mix things up a little bit and bring on different insurance experts. And one permanent guest to the podcast is Tessina, who's joining us today. Tessina, how are you?
Good. Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. By this time, the dental industry, well, by the time that this particular episode is published, everybody would have seen your feature in dental economics. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yes, very exciting.
Excellent. So we're going to do a series of short episodes, TED Talk episodes, if you will, 17 minutes or less. And the purpose of these short episodes is to sort of provide content behind some of the pressure points that dental practices are experiencing as it pertains to dealing with insurance. So today's topic, what we want to talk about is primary and secondary, or coordinating benefits, COB, as we all know it, right? And Tessina just so happens to be an expert on all things insurance as it pertains to dealing with insurance in the dental practice. So we're going to pick her brain today. Are you ready, Tessina?
Yes.
All right. All right. So let's start with the first question. Why is coordination of benefits such a hot topic in today's world of dentistry?
Oh, yes, the beloved coordination of benefits. I get asked about this regularly. It is so wild to me that it is still causing so much headache for everybody. But the more trainings I do, the more time I spend with each individual offices, the more I'm aware of how much the insurance companies are giving such limited information that they're making it so confusing for offices. And they have really scared them into saying, if you do this wrong, you're going to be in trouble. And so, like many other topics, it all stems from the insurance company making it a scary thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody's
Yeah.
like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know how much to write off. The patient's going to be mad, or the insurance is going to sue me. I don't know what to do. And so they always wind up very stressed about the coordination of benefits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting that a lot of times when we get advice from insurance carriers from the perspective of how to do things insurance-wise in a practice, the advice that we get almost always leads towards not submitting claims the way that you are entitled to submit them, and earning
Yeah.
the amount of money that you're
Yeah.
entitled to.
The insurance is, yeah, the insurance is always going to tell you what is in favor of them, their laws,
Right.
their dictates, their structure. They're not going to tell you what is actual law or what you're actually allowed to do. They're just going to say, this is how we want it done. It's not in favor of even the patient or the office. It's only in favor of the insurance company.
Right. So we all have to do our homework in this area of COB, coordinating benefits. So
Yes.
next question I have, Tessina, is when it comes to this whole idea of, like, let's say I'm in network with both primary and secondary. Let's use the example that the treatment that the patient needs, the allowance is $100, right? But let's say our office fees for that same procedure is $200, and we submit the claim to primary and then subsequently to secondary, and secondary doesn't coordinate benefits, and the combined payment from primary and secondary is $201, which is $1 more than our standard office fee, and then $101 higher than the in-network allowance. So the question is, in this situation, is are we entitled to keep the 200 and refund the patient or the insurance company that $1 overage? What say you?
Yes, exactly. So this is exactly where all that confusion is coming in. Is there are some state laws to be aware of, and your contract laws with your insurance company. But when you have two contracts individually, you're going off of the secondary one that is going to really lay out the rules for you. Since that secondary insurance is not coordinating with the first one, they are giving you permission to collect up to your full fee. You're not allowed to charge a patient for anything more than what you say that service costs. So if it goes to 201, that $1 is the patient's credit. But the big mistake all these offices are making is that $100 credit goes to the patient and the office just collects that other 100. And so that's a big no-no. You can collect up to your full fee when both insurances are paying up to your full fee. Anything above that goes to the patient.
So this is probably one of the most controversial statements that you'll hear in dentistry, is what you're saying. And I will say, Tessina, that I've actually researched that very extensively over the last few years. And what you're saying, I will support that, because it is 100% true, is that the in-network agreements and the overbilling laws do indicate that if secondary doesn't coordinate benefits, even if you're in-network with both of them, and the combined payment exceeds your office fees, then you could refund the patient the difference between your office fees and the overpayment, not the in-network allowance for either PPO plan, right? So
Yep.
essentially, you're getting paid as if you're out of network at that point, right? Where you're balance billing against your full fees. So for those of you that are hearing this and thinking, well, that cannot be right, I will tell you that it is actually correct. Every professional dental biller that's out there would understand this concept and give you the same answer. If they don't, or if there's a regulation that we're not aware of, let us know, because as it stands today, this is what, July 26, 2024, what Tessina says is 100% correct on this particular example. So next question, Tessina, is with regards to simplifying the process. I know that, when it comes to primary and secondary insurance, a lot of practices tend to be extremely confused about how to deal with these types of situations. What is your recommendation on how to simplify coordination of benefits for dental practices?
Yes. Yes, I love going over this because it is such a hot topic. It's such a high stressor for all of the office managers or all the billers that I talk to. When they have a patient that has double coverage, they're instantly stressed. They're like, oh, great, here I go. Like, how do I even know how much to tell this patient? What their portion's going to be? Do I collect same day if I know? This whole world of questions and stress open up for them. Back in the day, before people were offended by everything, we used to have a term that we would go by, and it was called KISS. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Simple, stupid. I don't know if we can say that anymore. People get offended. But just, you want to find a way all of the time to simplify these processes so that you're not dying in stress all day, every day. So I have a list of things that you just go through these 3 steps, and you follow those 3 steps, and it's really not as scary and as hard as it needs to be. So step 1, your breakdown form for insurance verification should always be asking what that coordination of benefits is. Knowing that ahead of time for both the primary and the secondary is going to help you know if the patient is going to owe something or not owe anything, or all of those details, right? Knowing on the people that are divorced and they have children, which one's really primary, which one's secondary. That goes off of the divorce decree, so make sure you're aware of that. But knowing if it is a standard coordination or a non-coordination or carve-out method, right? All of those things are really important to know. If the secondary insurance says non-due, that means they're not going to pay anything that the primary has paid. So in that sense, the patient has just one insurance with an extended maximum. And so, you can explain that to your patient, and you will collect at the time of service because they have a copay. They just have an extended maximum. So when the primary runs out, the secondary will pick up. If it's that standard coordination or no coordination, you're not collecting same day. So that step 1 is knowing that. So step 2 is this, part of that goes into this, is where having your UCR fee in the software, in the account ledger for your patient is going to be huge. So when I'm saying that it's standard coordination or no coordination, right away you're allowed to collect up to your full office fee. What if your software's only putting in the contracted rate? This causes a really big problem for you. And it appears that you're charging the $50 fee instead of your $100 fee. And when you go and put an adjustment in there to adjust up to your UCR fee, it looks kind of sneaky. So you want to stay away from that. You want to make sure you're always charging the full UCR fee in the ledger, in the account. Dentrix is the worst for this. It always puts in the contracted fee. There is a way to put in the UCR fee. I recommend doing that on all accounts, but especially when you have secondary involved, make sure it's a UCR fee. And then that way, when you have your primary and secondary, and that secondary coordination benefits is standard, then you can collect up to that full fee. The third step is to take the write-off after that secondary payment has come in, because we're following the rules and the contract of that secondary. So you don't do anything, you bill it out, you're not collecting from the patient same day, you're gonna let them know that you'll let the insurance companies fight it out, and you'll let them know if there's anything left owing for them after they've fought it out for a little bit. Typically what we see is that they pay full office fee or even a little bit more. So the patient shouldn't have a copay at all. So there's nothing to collect. So that's it, really 3 steps, right? Know your coordination of benefits, use the UCR fee, and take the write-off after the secondary EOB comes in. That's it.
That's awesome. You've simplified it in a way where it's like, oh, that's a no-brainer. But
Yeah.
I didn't really think about that before. This is the wonderful thing about sort of networking and collaborating with professionals, is that we tend to learn tips and techniques that simplify our lives. So Tessina, as far as the listeners that are on today's call or this particular episode, I know for a fact that a lot of people need help in this area of COB, coordination of benefits. How do people get a hold of you if they need help with just general insurance stuff, especially this stuff? Do you provide services or a coaching program for this type of insurance management?
Yes.
What can you share? Yeah, go ahead and
Definitely.
share.
I've been doing that for a long time. I'm going to continue to do that for a long time. So anybody who's needing help, they're welcome to reach out to me by email or even my cell phone number. I always am open to that. I know that's a terrible business idea to give out my cell phone. No, but I do. I pretty much live to help these offices. So also I do have an insurance verification with Verus. So you can find me on the website there as well.
Very good. verusdental.com. And then we'll post Tessina's email and her her contact information in the show notes. One thing that I'll point out about Verus Dental, and a lot of you might think this is totally crazy, but Tessina only charges $15 an hour for insurance verification services. And this is more of a give back to the industry, considering that so many practices are understaffed these days, or so many practices these days are likely overpaying for an entry level service like insurance verification, right? It's a very easy service that, in the past, we actually hired high schoolers to make these calls during the summertime, or after school or things of that nature. So check out verusdental.com, and then as well as Tessina's contact information that's attached in the show notes. Tessina, thank you so much for the wisdom that you've shared today. Oh, and the one thing I want to point out is that Tessina did mention that there's sometimes you'll get a statement back from a secondary insurance that says non-dupe. I'm assuming that refers to non-duplication of benefits, right? Or non-duplication,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
they cover the claim. The secondary covers the claim as if they're in the primary position, right?
Yeah. So yeah, the non-duplication means they won't pay anything that the primary has already paid on.
Gotcha. Okay.
They
So
won't make a duplicate payment.
Got it. So that's the difference. Is non-duplication is that they won't make a duplicate payment, but there are situations where some insurance carriers don't coordinate benefits to where they do pay as if primary, right?
And that's the no coordination. So they're very
Okay.
close, and people do confuse that a lot. So no coordination means they'll pay as primary regardless of the other primary information.
Got it. Got it. So lots to learn here, folks. Get a hold of Tessina, pick her brain, and of course, she's volunteered to spend her time on the podcast, and you're going to hear from her many times. We're going to do a lot of episodes together. So give her some love, throw her some business. So verusdental.com is her website. Tessina, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah.
As always, your wealth of knowledge, and to our listeners, thanks for joining us. Check out insuranceuntangled.com for future events. We do have upcoming webinars quarterly, But we're also are going to increase the rate of webinars that we're doing throughout the year. So check out the webinar schedule that's on insuranceuntangleded.com. Until next time, thank you for joining us. Until we meet again, have a great day.